So former President Trump's lawyers today asking the judge in his New York City trial to lift the gag order. Now that that trial is over, they say that they never agreed with this order and, quote, now that the trial is concluded, the concerns articulated by the government and the court do not justify continued restrictions on the First Amendment rights of President Trump. So the Manhattan DA's office responding, quote, the court has an obligation to protect the integrity of these proceedings and the fair administration of justice, at least through the sentencing hearing and the resolution of any post-trial motions. That coming from the Assistant DA's office. With that, let's bring in former Attorney General Bill Barr. Bill, great to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to get your thought on that gag order, but first, I'd like to get your reaction. I know you said all along you thought that this case was built on very flimsy indictment. Were you surprised when the 34 guilty verdicts came down?
I wasn't particularly surprised, but I said from the very start that this was an abomination, and I actually was surprised that they went ahead with the case because there really was nothing there. There was no crime there, and they never were able to really articulate it until after the defense rested its case. So I thought the whole thing was a travesty. I wasn't surprised by the verdict because the way the case was conducted, there was never really any discipline on trying to make the prosecutor establish what the elements of the crime were and what evidence he had to do it. It was just assumed from the beginning that there was some kind of federal election campaign violation, which there wasn't.
You know, Bill, I'm so struck when I ask people's reaction to this, and you kind of, it goes all over the spectrum. But what we're seeing in some of the polling as well is, well, you know, the jury spoke. Kamala Harris said today, well, the jury spoke. The prosecution had an opportunity to lay out their case. You know, how does that make you feel as someone who cares deeply about the justice system in this country?
Well, I think this is, you know, exhibit number one of the dual system of justice that is becoming more and more evident. But I also want to point out that what does this do to our body politic? What does this do to our country? Say this case is going to be overruled because there are just multiple errors and violations of constitutional rights, which, you know, Andy McCarthy and Jonathan Turley have amply discussed on your show. This will be eventually overruled after the election. But what happens if there's a close election and Biden, you know, squeaks through and then the case is overruled? Half the country is going to feel that this was a stolen election. And you know, again, this is a grave injustice and disservice to the country.
Yeah, you know, I'm speaking with a lot of veterans here, and I ask all of them at the end of our interviews how they feel about what's going on in the country. And, you know, sadly, to a person, they talk about how concerned they are about the system of justice in the United States, about leadership in the United States, and it's probably the most unsettling thing that I've heard since I've been here. There's so much inspiration in most of it. But let me ask you this about this gag order. Is it time to lift the gag order? Because they seem to really like the gag order. And meanwhile, you've got Michael Cohen mouthing off about Don Jr. and, you know, the children of the Trump family. Stormy Daniels says that she wants to make Trump into a punching bag for women victims. They're not silenced at all.
That's right. And I think the president's lawyers are absolutely correct. The whole purpose of the gag order was to protect the integrity of the process, to make sure that the trial was not disrupted by what was said. The trial is now over. The verdict's been delivered. And now everyone out there is talking about it, including, as you point out, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. And the president, like anyone else, has a right to defend himself in the court of public opinion, especially when he's running for the presidency of the United States. He has to be able to attack the charges, to assert that the witnesses against him weren't telling the truth, and point out all the flaws with the case and some of the rulings by the judge, which are inexplicable. He should be allowed to do that.
So given what you've seen on this judge, quickly if you can, Bill, what do you expect at this sentencing?
I hope that he doesn't do what they usually do, what the left usually does, which is to go too far and either deny him his freedom or impose a severe gag order on him. I think that would again, it would sort of affect people's attitude toward the fairness of the ultimate fairness of this election.
Well, we will see. Hopefully we will speak to you around that date, which obviously everybody's going to be watching intently. Bill Barr, former Attorney General, thank you, sir. It's always great to see you. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.